Hey everyone, this review of Watch Dogs Legion will be spoiler free. If you enjoy it, please consider tossing the video a thumbs up, it definitely helps a lot. So Watch Dogs Legion is Ubisoft's third entry into the Watch Dogs franchise, and this time you'll be playing as an entire group of playable characters unlike prior iterations which focused on a single protagonist. This flagship system allows you to recruit anyone you want in the world to join your team, which is definitely a cool idea, but it has some problems I'll soon talk about. The roster of playable characters is quite large, ranging from spies to paramedics, magicians, old grannies, and punk hipsters. Most of them come with somewhat of a unique loadout, such as having a specific gun, skill, or passive ability. I say somewhat because not all characters are clearly distinguishable from the rest, and only having a minor unique ability or passive, and even then there are some crossovers between characters in terms of both abilities and weapons. Not to mention most characters only usually get one unique ability, maybe two, such as hackers having the ability to summon a combat drone. It's definitely fun to hunt new recruits down and grow your legion, note the game title, but I wouldn't say that the characters play all that differently from one another. Generally speaking, the game is based around combat zones, which are indicated by the red areas on your map, and typically they're a mix of patrolling enemies, locked areas controlled by panels that you can hack, and traversing mostly vertical terrain and buildings to reach objectives. Guns blazing or stealth, the gameplay follows a pretty standard routine. Arrive at complex, find a way in, sneak past or kill some guards, do a puzzle, maybe grab an objective, and escape. Very few exceptions to this routine are present outside of some spider-bot challenges or hacking minigames, which are honestly quite fun. Regardless of who you're playing as, the objectives don't change, and besides the pure fantasy of living out the role of your favorite character, you're typically doing the same things on repeat, just different area design. While most characters have unique animations for takedowns and executions, they're still takedowns and executions. You can still kill people with guns or non-lethal weapons. You can still find cargo drones even if you're not a construction worker. You don't need to be a hacker to jam weapons or hack drones. You don't need to be a spy to use the cloak ability. You could still use spider bots when the game needs you to use one. If you think of it this way, pretty much any character can achieve anything, as there are no unique challenges that require certain mechanics. As such, while it was really fun for a couple hours of flip-flopping between different operatives and hunting down recruits, I don't think the play as anyone mechanic really adds that much to the actual mechanics of the gameplay long-term. However, the general cover-based shooting, hacking, and stealth gameplay is very fun. When you utilize all three systems at once, the game shines. Multiple enemies will rush at you, and you can do a variety of different things at once. Shoot enemies, jam weapons, use cloaking abilities, disable one enemy drone, hack the second one to attack the third, and hijack the fourth one to blast the fifth one. But again, none of this requires a specific character to do, since all of these skills are universal across all characters. Speaking of the gameplay area designs, I would have also liked to see more diversity in the missions because the game doesn't really diverge too much from its standard line of play. There's a lot of doing the same thing in Legion, and the ease at which players can advance through the story so quickly means they'll be repeating the core gameplay loop at a very frequent rate. This is primarily due to an extremely large amount of fast travel options from the start. It's not uncommon to finish a mission, fast travel to the next objective marker, and be at the next mission location doing more or less the same gameplay activity within a minute or two. Yeah, if you're just here for the story missions, it can go by very quickly. Personally, I would have cut down the fast travel stations by half or more, and made people drive to more objectives. This would build a connection to players and make them feel part of the world. As it stands now, the world feels really small when you can just teleport around the map at the snap of a finger. But obviously this is an open world game, so you're free to ignore the story and muck about the city causing trouble, collecting tech, the game's currency for buying skills, or recruiting new team members. Oddly enough, there's not much for side content or collectibles in Legion. You've got some repeatable tasks, which are just okay, but there is a distinct lack of fun activities that are prominent in other open world titles. So the fallback when you're done with the story is just to recruit more people. Unfortunately, the actual process of recruiting could have done with some refinement and needs to be fleshed out a lot more. Everything is randomly generated, so you'll often see similar stories pop up and even some of the same dialogue.
Are you with DedSec? Because I could use your assistance.
Can't guarantee anything, but we'll try.
Are you with DedSec? Because I could use your assistance.
Can't guarantee anything, but we'll try.
One of the more off-putting parts about recruitment as well is that it's all very happenstance and very sudden. You'll run up to an NPC and the majority of conversations you'll have with potential recruits generally goes like this. Hi there, would you like to join DedSec? Yes, I would, but can you help me find my missing friend first? Sure, I'll be right back. So you fast travel near an objective marker, find his friend, and you come back. I found your friend. Would you like to join DedSec now? Yes, I would. Sadly, I'm not exaggerating. In Legion, there's very little character development outside of do this for me and this will happen. It's fun for a while, but after 10 hours or so, I was craving some actual character threads. Characters are very thin in Legion, and most of them have a distinct lack of any thought or motives beyond just their simple objectives. At best, you'll get a few lines of dialogue, and that's it. There's very little beyond characters outside of these mild interactions. For me, the point of characters interacting through dialogue in a video game is for those characters to feel real, and for there to be some motives in place for people to act certain ways, for interesting conversation to happen beyond the who, the what, the why, and the where, motives, reasons. And honestly, there's just none of that in Legion outside surface level chit-chat. Story cutscenes have a lot more detail to them, but in the case of Recruitment, dialogue seems forced simply to move things forward and speed up the process of recruiting so that you can hurry and find more people to recruit. Legion is more successful when you have to recruit people who are inherently against DedSec, indicated by a red thumbs down when you profile them, as you'll have to find leads in the deep profile tool to win them over. Here you typically get about twice the amount of story content, and they end up being some of the best side content on offer, which just goes to show you that's exactly what the game needs more of. But even then, it's really not all that interesting, as these are based off randomized events doing the same things you had already been doing. What makes this process irritating is that all the lip syncing, and I mean all of it, outside those that are actually voice acted and animated specifically for one character, aka the named story characters, is downright terrible.
Damn right, man's ready to tear it up.
I'm sorry, I really can't think of a better name for it. Because all the characters you recruit are pretty much procedurally generated, the game has to match the look of your character to a voice. The algorithms running the vocal system take predefined lines recorded by actors and alter the tone, the enunciation, the accent, etc. to generate a randomized voice that is used to pump out the dialogue for that character. This is so that every character in the world seems to be able to look and talk uniquely. It's no surprise that Legion's predefined characters that are voiced specifically for them, your companions, the leaders, and all the game's villains, have supremely better voice acting and believability than any of the characters you can actually play. Obviously, the developers had to go with a random number generator system because that's the only way to voice 1,000 characters. But then I ask, did we really need 1,000 playable characters? Going back to my critique of the game's overall lack of character development and homogenization of core gameplay, I actually have to say no. Just looking at GTA 5, the game did a tremendous amount of story building, relationship development, and drama expansion and character growth that was wrapped around a really compelling narrative experience with 3 characters. You've got a really nice story in Legion, but here all of that is substituted for an ocean of characters that aren't really treated like characters. Sure, some of them are funny at times, but the most intriguing character isn't your own. It's a robot named Bagley that has 10 times the personality of anyone you play. As such, I really didn't even care about my characters as the story kept moving forward. They weren't Marcus, Aiden, or Laura. They were spy, beekeeper, or prostitute. Despite having unique responses at times and obviously being different people, I felt like many of my teammates, strictly from a character point of view, were interchangeable and very replaceable, especially when you have new characters jumping in and out of the story cutscenes. Even if they're brand new to DedSec, they just kind of pick up where the last character left off, like they've been there the whole time. It's kind of odd. This element of continuity and character building within the story is really the trade-off of the Legion system when you compare it to other titles that do focus on those things. And honestly, I want to see the system trimmed way down in the future if this ever gets rolled out again, so that there's a chance to have some character development. Maybe focus on 5 playable characters with really cool character arcs, personality, and extremely different and unique gameplay toolkits. This would sync up nicely with Legion's permadeath mode, where characters actually die if you die while playing them. As it stands now, it's certainly fun in theory to be able to recruit anyone you see, and it is for a while. Not to mention it does support the story of a group of people fighting against oppression, but there's really not much substance to it when the credits roll down. It's weird to think that I was having such a blast with Legion for around 10 hours, because the next 10 felt rather underwhelming as the cracks of its ideas began to seep out. The story and the actual designed NPCs like Sabine are really well done. The narrative is interesting, exciting, and it moves fast. There's surprises, action, spectacle, dark humor, and intrigue, but the characters you actually play feel so shallow. The gameplay is really awesome for a while as well, until you realize that the 50 people you recruited don't really play all that differently, and none of the combat zones really present unique challenges that can't be handled by any of them. I think Legion has some great ideas, and it might be worth picking up at full price if you're a huge fan of open world games inspired by GTA, But for everyone else who was hoping for a truly next-gen version of Watch Dogs' gameplay, I'd have to say wait for a small sale. It also might put you off that there is a for-money store inside the game, which upon quick inspection seems to be very overpriced and completely unnecessary. Watch Dogs Legion is not a bad game, it's actually quite good, but it's not as great as I was expecting once I finished it. It's an ambitious idea that feels exciting for a while, but lukewarm once you realize exactly what it is.